Homer's The Odyssey is considered one of the classic stories, of its tale of a soldier trying to return home, serving as a template for several that followed. I even recently read a translation to prepare for this newest adaptation, and now having a greater familiarity with it, I think Christopher Nolan did a superb job of putting a spin on the Odyssey. As we cut between Odysseus and the events in his home in Ithaca, this becomes a compelling epic with Nolan putting together some terrific set pieces that highlight his desperation to return and the role that the gods play in this difficult adventure. As Nolan so often does, he tells the story in a non-linear order, which adds to the feeling of how long Odysseus has been traveling. Of course, the Odyssey itself is a fairly episodic story, with Odysseus and his men ending up in all sorts of predicaments. Nolan finds the right angle of each set piece, which deliver the needed thrills as they run to trouble, from the imposing Cyclops to the sirens singing on rocks. Although the standout scene involves the witch Circe, with Samantha Morton delivering a fantastic performance. In that section, Nolan seems to channel his inner John Carpenter and finds a clever angle to depicting Circe's magical abilities. Odysseus himself remains a fantastic character, as we see him use his smarts as well as his occasional hubris. The film shows how this journey affects both him and those under his command and the strain it causes. While the story of the Odyssey takes place following the Trojan War, Nolan flashes back to those events in his adaptation, and that leads to another excellent series of set pieces, as the army hides and then leaps out of the horse. The movie includes a strong anti-war message, with Nolan cleverly weaving that into Odysseus and his communications with the gods. The scenes on Ithaca riveting in their own way, as we watch the suitors who've taken over Odysseus' home. Robert Pattinson is especially good at leaning into the slimeball nature of the head suitor as he weasels himself into the home and torments Penelope and Telemachus. John Leguizamo is also great as Odysseus' most loyal servant, who shares Penelope's wish for him to come back and set things right. Nolan always chooses the right moments in the story to cut back to Ithaca, highlighting the necessity for Odysseus to return. The scope of the production is immense, with Hoyt van Hoytema filming some terrific shots of the seas and the landscapes. And then there's the action, with Nolan evoking the classic sword and sandal epics with the sword fighting and other stunts. Watching the Odyssey, it's clear what inspired Christopher Nolan to want to do his own take on the story. He takes us on quite the journey through those 3 hours and shows how many problems Odysseus faces, which he then has to get out of using his smarts. Adding to it is an excellently chosen ensemble cast, with each contributing something and not getting lost in the shuffle. As someone recently familiar with the story, it was especially interesting seeing how Nolan constructs each sequence, while also throwing in a few surprises that fit thematically with what he's saying about war and how it affects everyone. Christopher Nolan has become such a prominent voice in big screen entertainment, and this delivers in making us feel like we are there with Odysseus during this ordeal.